Joseph Haydn was the master of the string quartet, the creator of the symphony, and his Emperor's Hymn became the national anthem of Austria. But there were many who coveted the composer's genius, not to mention his head, which was stolen from his grave soon after his death. Scientists believed they could understand the composer's genius by studying the shape of his skull, and for nearly 150 years, his head was as cherished as the music he had created. Born on March 31st, 1732, Haydn was the son of peasants and received little formal education. But young Joseph had a good head on his shoulders, and with training, his genius blossomed. He was still a young man when he was appointed music director to the Esterházy family in Vienna. Their patronage would enable him to compose some of the finest works of the classical period. But when he was in his 70s, Haydn became plagued by headaches. He complained that his own musical notes haunted him, and his health began to fail. On May 31st, 1809, he slipped into a coma and died. His will concluded most solemnly, "I commend my soul to my all-merciful Creator." Unfortunately, he made no such provisions for his head. In Vienna, a few scientists were eager to get their hands on the head of the great composer. They were phrenologists, followers of a popular 19th century discipline which taught that character and mental capacity were indicated by the shape of a person's skull.
They wanted to study Haydn's head because they didn't often get the chance to look at the head of a real genius. They usually got criminals and suicides and people who were found dead and were unidentified.
The phrenologists convinced Prince Esterházy's ex-secretary Karl Rosenbaum to exhume the body. 3 days after Haydn's burial, Rosenbaum and a cohort secretly dug him up and cut off his head. After the phrenologists gave it a thorough examination, they returned the head to Rosenbaum. But Rosenbaum did not return the head to the grave. He was proud of his grisly relic and reportedly displayed the head, now reduced simply to a skull, in his home. Unaware that Haydn's head was in Rosenbaum's possession, the Esterházy family built a grand mausoleum to honor Haydn. On Halloween Day, 1820, Haydn's body was removed from its coffin to be reinterred in this new mausoleum at the Esterházy estate at Eisenstadt.
When the Esterházys went to get the body from Vienna, opened the grave, and oh my gosh, something's missing.
Rosenbaum and his friend were implicated, and the police searched their homes.
Rosenbaum apparently had been tipped off, so he had his wife pretend to be sick. She got in bed, put the skull under her skirts, and put on a good act. And the police were too polite to search that closely, and therefore the skull was preserved from the secret police.
Years later, when Rosenbaum died, he left the head to the Society of the Friends of Music in Vienna, but it couldn't be found. The head eventually turned up at the University of Vienna. When the Society of Friends of Music learned of this, they sued for its return.
The situation was confused. The second thief had stolen it from the first thief, who had stolen it fair and square right from the graveyard, and he had willed it to the museum, who didn't get it because the second thief had given it to the pathologists, and on and on and on and on.
Finally, in 1839, the court awarded the head to the Society of the Friends of Music. There, the head was displayed in a glass case, placed on a grand piano. Some visitors were even allowed to handle it. Under continued pressure from the Esterházy family, the society finally agreed to return the head, and in 1954, Haydn was recapitated following a grand ceremony.
Haydn's head was placed in a hearse all by itself, and taken in a procession very slowly through 30 miles of countryside via a route that took it through his hometown and finally ended up at the family estate of Eisenstadt. The body there was reinterred in a brand new copper coffin and the head ceremoniously placed on top of the body where it belongs with prominent dignitaries of the arts, sciences, and humanities attending.
At last, Haydn had received a proper burial. Phrenology also received a proper burial. The study of the shape of skulls has long been discredited, much to the delight of today's geniuses, who'd like very much to keep their heads with them when they've gone. Joseph Haydn's body and head are interred at the Bergkirche Church in Eisenstadt, Austria.